Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to explore and create an edit block in Salesforce. A Salesforce edit block is a user interface component typically used within Salesforce OmniScript and Lightning Web Components. It provides a structured way to represent and edit data in a user-friendly form-like layout. Edit blocks allows user to view and modify records without navigating away from the current interface. You can see an edit block that is displaying data associated with the account object in Salesforce. The edit blocks allows users directly to view and modify account details in a user-friendly layout. You will also notice the edit, delete and new buttons which are provided by default by Salesforce, making it super easy to manage records without any custom coding. Without further delay, let's jump into the video and see how we can create this from scratch. Let's begin by creating an OmniScript. We will start by simply dragging and dropping the edit block element from the build panel. But before we dive into configuring it, we need to set up a data mapper. This data mapper will fetch the necessary details from the Salesforce object we are working with. In this example, we are using the account object and our data mapper will return the data in a clean JSON format like this.
Now let's move into our OmniScript. To start, drag and drop the edit block element from the build panel. Now let's go ahead and configure our edit block. The first thing we need to do is name the edit block. And it's very important to note that this name must exactly match the JSON array node name returned from our data mapper. In our case, if we look at the response, we can see that the data is returned as an array of objects. And this array is labeled as account. So we will use this name account as the name of our edit block. Now that we have edit block name correctly, it's time to display the data returned from our data mapper. To do this, we need to switch the edit block to edit mode by clicking the little pencil icon that you see in the screen. Once in edit mode, we can start adding our fields. Let's begin by adding a text input element into our edit block. One crucial thing that you have to remember here is the name field of each input element must exactly match the keys in the data object returned from our data mapper. Here, I have created and added necessary input fields into our edit block. For example, the city field matches exactly with one of the fields that is returned in our data raptor. Let's go ahead and configure our edit block that will display all this data from our data raptor. First, we will select the mode to single, which means users can select single record at a time. Next, we will set the edit block mode where you can choose how the data is displayed. We can select between table, card or list view options. After that, we will define the maximum columns. This is the number of columns or fields we want to display in our edit block at a time. Finally, under elements inside edit block, we will select which fields should be visible. And that's it for our basic configuration of our edit block. Now let's go ahead and preview and see how it looks. Everything seems to be working now. Now we will configure our edit block to enable features like edit, new and delete. These actions will update both the data table and the corresponding records in the Salesforce object. We'll start by adding a new record. Open the edit block properties, check the allow new checkbox to enable creating new records. Before continuing, it is crucial to add a remote action. The name of this remote action must be exactly the same as the value in the new label field of the edit block. In the remote properties of the remote action, set the remote class to default OmniScript edit block. This is an out-of-the-box class, and set the remote method to new. Similarly, we can do the same for edit and delete options. To do so, just provide the respective method name in the remote action method names. To perform DML operations like insert, update, delete on Salesforce objects, we need to connect our edit block to the Salesforce object. To do so, in our edit block properties, find the S-object mapping configuration section, map the edit block to Salesforce account object. Match each edit block field with the corresponding Salesforce field. Now I have mapped all of the fields in my edit block to our Salesforce object. One thing you have to keep in mind is when mapping the ID field, check the duplicate key box. Inside the edit block element, uncheck the checkbox for ID before previewing. Now we are ready to test our implementation. To do so, click our preview button. Click new button and add a new record. Here you can see one problem, which is we are able to see the ID field. While creating a Salesforce record, the ID field is auto-generated. So to hide this ID field from our form, click on the ID field in our edit block and click edit properties as JSON. You can find it in the build panel. Now change the value for hide from false to true. Now let's preview again. And here you can see the ID field is not visible. To test our other implementation, I am putting some sample test data and click on save. Now scroll to the bottom Here we can see the data is being retrieved from the Salesforce records and everything seems to be working fine. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions,
Feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.